how I count my blessings. With a double R under your garage door. Appreciate the things you work hard for. And count your blessings. Count your blessings.
And we're back. Yep. Let's try and get some good angle for the light. This is my makeshift back support. I know it looks a bit mad, but it seems to be quite comfortable. Yeah, I'm back at the boat, just de-stressing, because if I'm honest, the work I'm doing is pointless in terms of practicality, in terms of just like pure work. And I'll get onto the title in a second, but I'm just saying hello, as I always do, and giving context. And yeah, no, I'm just, I've got my uncle starting tomorrow at the boat. He's going to be doing the work, and the work I'm doing now is pointless in that regard. It's like, I'd probably be better off sitting down and just chilling out if I could. But for myself, just being able to paint, do some painting where I stopped like 3-4 months ago. I just broke down. It's quite healing, and that's where I'm at with it, because I mean, this would save me 20 quid and with all the stress I'd pay someone to if I could just chill out. So that's the logic of me doing the work at the moment, but it's nice in that sense. I'm doing it for myself, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and I was I've been quite stressed, and I'm here, and I've started painting, and I'm feeling like half a normal person again doing this. And it's a case of sorry, as you can tell, I'm really just starting to ground again. Sorry. And yeah, I'm trying to get myself back grounded, de-stressing, and the idea came into my head to the possibility of making a video whilst I do some painting. And it's an idea, as you can tell by the title, that is a bit strange, especially if you've listened to much of the stuff I've been saying over the past however long. But it's a case of let me get on with a bit of painting at the same time, and that way I can really focus on what I'm saying, because, well, I'm just a bit weird. But let's see, I might have to change sides. Here we go. That's even better. So yeah, no, I mean, if you've heard much of what I've said, or if you know any of me, so who's responsible, how I deal with what's going on inside my brain, or inside my skull, should I say. It's a case of, really, as far as I got was, my dad's at fault. For instance, and this is all relating to the title now. In the first instance, it's a case of, my dad's played a big part, so he's been a voice within my head, and for whatever reason, one reason or another, my mental health has storylines. Obviously, you can imagine this going on all at the same time, 1,000,001 different stories. And as my mental health formed, as my dad really played a big part on the outside in instigating trouble for me within my mental health and really caused me the initial stressors in my early mental health phase, which, as you can imagine, you want to be as calm as possible in the early stages so you don't go up, you know. My dad put, and so did my mum. They both did. They contacted services, you know. They were behaving differently to me, and I know that within myself. I don't need anybody to justify that to me. It's like I know that's my experience, and I guess that's what I'm stating. That's my experience. So you're welcome to put me more in a mental health bracket. Like, listen and believe me, but that's up to you. So within my mental health, my dad's always been the person who's my problems, and he's been there like a voice in my head, dictating the hard times. And so has my uncle Vladimir. They've both been like the equal, the assassins. What would you call them? The bad guys within my mental health. And in addition to that, my understanding so far in terms of spirituality, for each of us, our fathers are our gods. They're like our own personal God. That is God, and as close as it is, and that's my understanding. And a large part on the outside, in terms of me being very fit. I mean, I left home at I don't know how old I was, about 29, and I was unhappy with how he was antagonising me within my mental health. I had to leave home, and the same with my uncle Vladimir, because he was staying at the house at that time, so it was like leaving them both. And what I'm trying to say, so yeah, I was 29 when I left home. Sorry, I think it's the paint. The fumes are really quite strong. So I left home when I was 29, and he hired a detective with him to find me. That was the extent my dad really put pressure on me on the outside. So this man really did depict the essence of what was wrong. To a certain extent, with your mental health, as long as you get in check with all the stresses in your life, what problems are going to be in your head, man? You're going to be off with the fairies, you know, having a nice time, walking in the park, chilling, doing what you want with your life. Unless you've got problems in your head already. So that's how I viewed things. And in addition to that, as I've grown up, I got quite spiteful, you know. I blame my dad anyway. Him, no matter how much, I mean, it was him, that my dad's responsible to me, that's it, end of. It's not an argument, this is just what I'm proven wrong, but in everything I've experienced, this is what I believe. I'm sorry. So I believe my dad is responsible for my mental health. God, this really got to my head. Sorry. Right, so my dad's responsible for my mental health. That's where it stops with me. Everything within my mental health is gonna lead to that. Me enhancing that. That's what I mean to say. And as I grew up, and as my circumstances, because I've become bitter in terms of my mind. It's like, I know it's not myself. It's like within my mind there's a part of me that's very bitter. And I'm allowing that because I wouldn't be able to cope with the circumstances. I see this almost like cancerous part of my mind. And I know it's keeping me alive. So I'm allowing this bitterness within me to just fester in terms of a relationship that is. So where it's final, it doesn't really matter. I'm not really paying attention to. So it's not nice to hear on one level, but I'm managing it in terms of my mental health. So where I've become bitter in that of things, it's not just my father. It's there, and as I said, I can try and manage it, balance it out, as best as I can, and we'll see what therapy I'll need to do in a few years to get the remnants off. But my dad's the only person that I'm angry with, though. My dad is the only real one where I would have an outward expression of anger. And I really laid into him in terms of last time I was painting the other room, I was high as a kite. I had a bit more energy then, so I was able to enjoy it a little bit more. But yeah, I can send people the link of. Yeah, no, I became angry, really angry towards my dad, and you can't believe it. Dad, and one of the ways I was angry towards him is a case of, for my whole life, he displayed an element of love to him. And as an adult, I'm resentful for my life. I don't like my life. I wish I wasn't currently alive, but don't worry, I'm not going to do anything stupid. Because I always saw him as wiser than me, cleverer than me, the one area I could pick an argument with that, because I can't fault my dad. He wasn't the best person, he wasn't the most enjoyable person to be around, he was miserable for a lot of the time, and home life wasn't great as a result of him predominantly, in my childhood eyes. But I could never fault what his actions, because I could understand the world, and when I look back, you know, there's no even though he was a miserable person, it's understandable, that element. But the element that I guess and this is all relating to the title, and I'll get a context first. But in relationship to the way he was a good person, that's where I pick an argument, because I know underneath all of his the hardships I experienced within my mental health. How are we going to do this? Because I need to get. Oh no, I've got some more paint here. That's fine. So, for all that anger I have towards him, within my mental health, I know, and I can never doubt, that he loved me first. Whatever amount of pain I've been put through as a result of my father and as a result of my uncle, ultimately, the basis is love. They did it to me because of love. Now, this this is where you can begin to see what I might be getting at with the title. But everything they did for me was love, but it's unbearable to live. And however much you know in the back of your mind, this is love, this is love, this is love. If you start kidding yourself about life in the first instance, that it's not so bad, we can play games with ourselves. No, let's be honest, life is unbearable as a result of my father and a result of my uncle. And as a result of me knowing how I react to unbearable torment and pain, I become wild again, in essence. And when you're wild, what are you really going to do? Stand there thinking about love? Or think about the pain in the present moment? Like, fucking hell, this is agony. If I ever see him in another life again. That's real. How much you want to think about love, it as a natural reaction. If you want to live for the patience to wait out pain, however long that may be, then fine, we can talk about love, but in the present moment, pain rules. And for that reason, I can't forgive my uncle and my father, and however much I know they love me, that's why they're doing what they're doing for me. The physical experience overrides it, and the physical experience is, I want to kill you both. Nobody else, just my father and my uncle. And that's reality. That's where I'm at with it. And because I know that in the first instance, there's no point really taking that perception of, well, they love me, I can't look at it that way. I look at it the way that makes sense. And the way that makes sense is, I don't like what they've done to my life. I don't like what they've done to my life. So then we take it to another level. Because I know I don't like what they've done to my life. I know that's the perspective to look at the situation and the scenario at. There's no point constantly changing it one way and another way and another way. If it happens naturally, I just leave it, but I'm not going to look at it another way. I know this is the right way to look at it. Now, in relation, I became angry and bitter because because it's unforgivable. It's like the understanding where I can look at that, I find the reason. Okay, my dad was young and foolish. He had a child. Somewhere in the process of me being born, my dad had a realization. Or maybe it was a year or two later, but the realization was, and is, that I have no right to bring a child into this world. Because to love me, if it means you have to put me through this, it's a case of, I fucked up giving you life. Because ultimately I'm causing you pain as a result of my actions. And I don't wish to cause you pain, do I, if I love you? I don't wish to cause you this amount of experience. If I truly love you, it would be somewhere a little bit more in balance, wouldn't it? It'd be like, yeah, no, I understand, pain is growth, and there's a place for it in this world. Where I'm having to experience what I'm experiencing, I know that is no longer really a question. I know that my dad made a mistake. And for all intensive purposes, the fact that I'm being put through this as I am, the fact that what he's given me in his life, the way he gave it in terms of his love, his presence, and as a result of his presence, his teachings towards me, I know that he must have realised. He must have been aware of it. And I guess we're all aware of it. And that's where my thinking's been. We've got that out. It's really hard talking about emotion over stress. I've not really been in this position much over the past few years. But so that's my perspective. That in essence, as a species, if we're wise and we see the world, you know, how can we just think to ourselves, right, I have this ability to make life, and within that I wish to explore it. So this child can come into this world, and that's the thinking. The thinking is that we don't really think about it, because if this can be because this is what I need to go through from my dad's wisdom to heal. This is for, because my father and my uncle are responsible for it, so it must be for my growth ultimately, or for the benefit of humanity. This is my simplistic thinking. So if that's the case, and this life is what would need to be experienced by every baby born for the same purpose of what I've just expressed, then I couldn't want to bring a child into this world knowing the life I've just been through or going through. So I don't think in truth anybody else could. And that's where it was. That's where it was, and it has been for a long, long time. But looking to the outside, looking to the world, seeing the world as I do, oh, I'm going to have to wrap this up because my battery's dying, and I don't want to end it on a dead battery, so we'll tie it up basically. Seeing the world as I do, and knowing my dad ultimately loved me first, even though the final thing looked something totally different, I can then look at the world and say, right, well, if this is the case that my dad loved me, but this happened to happen, who's at fault? Spirituality. Spirituality is to blame, innit? And that's what my message has been all this time, is to put pressure on spirituality because something's wrong with spirituality. Tell that all your problems, all your anger, so they can feel our pain and start to help, because why aren't they helping? But if they're benevolent aliens, they abide by spiritual law. And if they're abiding by spiritual law, then it really points to something going wrong with spirit. Now, I've got ideas about how that's further justified as a likely scenario. Teachings, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not going to go into that at present. What I will say, the fumes are starting to get to me again. What I will say is that that's how I live my life. That bitterness my dad's really gone. Within my mental health, you know, it's like other elements taking over the importance of his voice within my mind that once was a key factor within my mental health. And I can feel that it's slowly dissipating. It's like very frequently do I feel my father's energy, infrequently do I feel my father's energy within my mental health as I did. Very infrequently would I hear his voice within my mental health as I did. Like really, it's like totally dramatically changed. I can't tell you about the extremes. When my father was once a key figure within my mental health, the presence is slowly being removed. And where I don't really hold an outward expression of anger to anything in this world, because it's not practical. Only family is it ever practical, because at least within the Greek culture, we communicate on an emotional level, so hold some fucking anger towards your family, innit? To the outside world, it's just not a practical thing. It's also further, you know, the teachings I've had, the Thich Nhat Hanh, all of his simplistic ways of communication to really add harmony to life, just have that at essence. You know, and I've really practiced that as a mentality to life for God knows how many years, so I have no reason to be angry. I mean, I get angry at times, of course I do, but I have no reason. I wouldn't want to. It's not a choice. But I still have that bitterness in me, and the practical solution for that bitterness is firing it towards spirituality, firing it towards the benevolent aliens. All right, there's a reptilian control system in the world. They're you know, the world is like it is because reptilians are in control. That's the conspiracy, yeah? But what's the point of being angry towards them? Because, well, just like are we? We're a bit ill. Yeah, sure, we're ill as a result of them, but, you know, we should have been better warriors in the first instance. A million ways to argue it, but they're doing what they're doing because either ignorance or arrogance. And either way, it's because healing needs to happen. I know I'm losing the light and I know I'm losing my battery, so there's no point holding active anger towards the bad guys. You might as well hold it towards the good guys who aren't helping, and that's what I'm saying. And if we're holding active anger towards spirit as a matter of practicality for life in terms of putting pressure on the right people through conscious intent of life, the idea is go and have babies, because we shouldn't. But what the fuck are we gonna do? Because this is the idea that just came to me in my head. I realised my dad, you know, you can't blame him. He's as dead as I am, really, to life, and he's as ill as he was to see it any differently. You know, if you see it differently, there's an illness either in myself or in you that separates us, and that needs to be addressed. But my dad's got to live, and I'm like, because that's what I'm experiencing now. It's like I've got to live. I can't not live. So I understand my dad's decision, you know. It's like every man in this world, if you feel powerless to being able to do anything on the collective scale in terms of changing the world, our minds will go to reproduction as a means to life. That's where life is at. And that is a natural human instinct. So how can I hold that against my dad? and I'm losing the light, so how can I hold that against my dad? I can't really. When I'm in the same place and I'm like, I'd do the same thing if that was high on my priority list or even possible in terms of my life. I know that. So I'm not going to be able to be angry at my dad anymore. And in terms of that, my dad isn't really responsible. It is spirituality. Spirituality is right. Spirituality needs to be dealt with. And for that reason, and this is what David Ash recommended, like, of. I've been confused about it ever since, but this makes perfect sense. We need to fuck spirit. And the best way to fuck is natural to yourself. If you want kids, go and have kids, in it, because, well, that's what we can do in this world, because look at the world, what are we going to achieve? Where we're all divided, you know, billions of us are all divided. We're never going to come together to be able to do it this way. The way we need to come together is saying, right, let's have a war with spirit. So that's the thinking. Feel free to have babies, innit? But in seriousness, there's no point killing yourself. And given the right way, there's teachings and growth to be had, isn't there, still? University Earth, innit? Take care. Yeah, if I can press end.